because of the HIV virus that I have attained, I will have to retire from the Lakers.
Millions of people with HIV, like basketball star Magic Johnson, have been successfully treated with anti-retroviral drugs. These drugs basically put HIV to sleep in the human body. As long as you keep taking them correctly, HIV doesn't turn into AIDS. But Magic is not cured. There is no cure for this disease yet. If Magic doesn't take his medication, the HIV in his body will wake up and eventually turn into AIDS.
The funny thing is, what most people don't realize, they thinking Magic Johnson haven't had no problems. And I have to let them know that when I first got on it, I was taking about 15 pills 3 times a day, ACT. Ooh. So my mood swings, going to the bathroom, stomach disrupt, everything.
Do you think you could lie down and we have a look at you?
But nearly 70% of African people with HIV can't afford anti-retroviral drugs. That's why an estimated 14 million people died of AIDS in Africa between 2000 and 2008. Dr. Peter Mugini says the world stood by and let it happen.
When you see that this is happening to black people and people don't respond immediately, you can't help but say there are double standards in the world. And when it is not the black people involved, the response is prompt. Anybody who can be saved by the drugs should not die today.
We have medications that can treat the epidemic, but we're not making them universally available. We're not doing what we need to do with all deliberate speed in Africa to make sure that we lower the rates of mortality, that we reduce the number of orphans that are created by this epidemic.
In the 1990s, many Western drug companies refused to reveal the formulas for their HIV drugs. These medicines effectively suppressed the virus. The companies had patented the drugs and argued that they were protecting their intellectual property. More than 40 drug companies also sued the country of South Africa for importing cheaper generic versions of their HIV drugs from India and Brazil. Almost 20% of South Africa's population has HIV. The students in our project debated the rights of the drug companies versus the rights of the people infected with HIV/AIDS.
That's why they made the medicine, to make money. They didn't make it to save lives, because if they did, it would be free.
Well, why not make it low enough so the Africans can buy it? If you're gonna make a medicine, you're making it because somebody's ill. You're not making it for money, you're making it to solve a problem. And these people can't get this medicine because one company or 2 companies or 3.
So you're pretty much just trying to please everybody?
No, you're trying to save everybody. If you have something, if I have a bad day, you gotta cut, I'm gonna give it to you.
All right.
You telling me that if Kelly gets cut, you ain't gonna give her a bad day, you just gonna sit there and let her bleed on it?
If I don't want to. How do I know I'm not gonna get a worse cut and I'm gonna need that Band-Aid more than Kelly? If I was in a big company and I was making medicine that cured AIDS and people was trying to take my formula and make a cheaper formula, you know what I'm saying?
I would take them to court.
I would take them to court.
I did the same exact thing. How you gonna take my medicine and try to make a generic version and you're taking my money?
But
why
it's helping people.
It doesn't matter. You're taking my money.
Taking my money.
So they shouldn't be worried about so much money they could make. They should be worried about helping people.
The drug companies were widely criticized. They eventually dropped their lawsuit. The students in our project wondered how much money the drug companies had invested in researching and developing drugs to fight HIV. Dr. Mugini told us the story of AZT, the first HIV drug.
How much does it cost to make the medicine, and how much do the people make off the medicine, and how much do they sell it for? What's the differences?
Well, they make huge profits for the work they didn't do. If I may give you an example, the very first AIDS drug is called AZT. This was the very first AIDS drug. No pharmaceutical company discovered it. It was discovered by scientists. And it was not discovered for treatment of AIDS. It was discovered for treatment of cancer. But when they tested it on cancer, AZT, it wasn't working so well. So when AIDS came, they tried to test, they were testing anything they could get hold of. And when they tested AZT on AIDS, they found it worked. It was just an accident. It was not an act of genius. And these companies just took a finished product and started manufacturing it and made huge profits. They made huge profits. So these companies, what they normally say is that they have gone through a lot of trouble is not always correct.
During the height of Uganda's AIDS epidemic in the 1990s, Mugeni started importing anti-retroviral drugs from anywhere he could, even though it was against the law.
I didn't ask permission from anybody to import these drugs because all international law would not allow me, national law would not allow me, so I just placed the order. So the National Drug Authority, as they prepared to send me to jail, asked me, why did you do it? It is because people are dying and we have got to do something about it.
Not everyone would have put themselves in jeopardy of going to prison to do this.
I'm a doctor. You know that this drug treats disease X. You know it would save the lives of your patients. And you sit on your backside, giving up, saying you can't fight for your patient. I think you are not worth to be a doctor. AIDS in our community has exposed gross injustices. It probably lingers on the greatest human rights violation in history.